The air was crisp, and the autumn leaves fluttered along the sidewalk, their colors transitioning from vibrant reds and oranges to the muted browns of fall. The quiet suburban street, lined with neat rows of houses, had always been a peaceful place, where neighbors exchanged greetings and children played freely in their yards. However, on this particular afternoon, the usual calm was shattered by a tense confrontation unfolding right in front of a parked police car. At the center of the commotion stood two women, their faces flushed with anger and frustration. Both were dressed in sharp red suits, their power outfits contrasting sharply with the calm, neutral tones of the surroundings. One woman, tall and confident, was gesturing wildly with her hands, her words coming out in quick, clipped sentences. The other, equally well-dressed, but with a more stoic expression, stood her ground, her arms crossed over her chest, her posture rigid. The tension between them was palpable, as if they were on the verge of exploding into a full-blown argument. Behind them, a man stood, holding a few papers in his hands, clearly caught in the middle of the dispute. He looked uncertain, glancing between the two women, unsure of how to navigate the situation. His eyes darted nervously toward the police officers standing a few feet away, who were observing the scene with a mix of curiosity and authority. The officers, one male and one female, stood at the ready, prepared to step in if things escalated further. The male officer, a seasoned cop with a calm demeanor, had his hands at his sides, his eyes fixed on the two women. The female officer, younger and more alert, kept her hands on her hips, her posture suggesting she was ready to intervene at any moment. The man shifted uncomfortably, his grip tightening on the papers in his hands. The dispute seemed to be over something serious, but the specifics were unclear. From the looks of things, it appeared to be a legal matter, perhaps a contract, a business deal, or some kind of agreement gone wrong. The woman who was doing most of the talking, her voice rising with each word, seemed to be accusing the other of something: betrayal, dishonesty, or perhaps a breach of trust. She pointed her finger toward her opponent, her tone sharp and cutting, as though she were delivering a final verdict. The other woman, unfazed by the accusations, raised her hand as though to stop the verbal barrage. She took a deep breath and then spoke, her voice steady but laced with a cold fury. "You have no idea what you're talking about," she said, her words deliberate. "You're making assumptions based on nothing but your own warped perspective. You don't know the full story, and yet here you are, pointing fingers like you have all the answers. I'm not going to stand here and let you make false accusations." The tension between them escalated with each passing second. The first woman's face reddened with rage as she threw her hands up in frustration. "False accusations? Are you seriously going to stand there and pretend you didn't do exactly what I'm accusing you of? Don't think for a second that I'll let you get away with this. The truth always comes out." The man who had been standing quietly between them shifted uneasily, feeling the weight of their anger pressing down on him. He opened his mouth as if to speak, but quickly closed it again, unsure of what to say. His eyes flickered toward the police officers, who had yet to intervene, but were clearly paying close attention to the growing argument. The female officer stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "Ladies, we need to keep this civil. Whatever the issue is, it's not going to be resolved like this. Please, take a step back and explain what's going on. We're here to help, but we need you to cooperate." The man stepped forward at that moment, his voice shaky. "I'm sorry, officers. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. It's just everything's gotten out of hand. I didn't think it would get this far." The officer nodded, his expression softened slightly. "It's okay. We're just here to make sure everything is handled properly. Can you explain what this is all about?" he asked, his voice measured and calm. The man hesitated for a moment before he glanced down at the papers in his hands. "It's about a business agreement," he began, his voice low. "These two, they've been working together for a while. But recently, things started to go wrong. There were misunderstandings, and now they're accusing each other of, well, things they don't understand." He paused, glancing back at the women. "It's complicated. I think it's all gotten blown out of proportion." The female officer, listening intently, exchanged a glance with her partner. "Okay," she said, nodding. "Let's take a step back, everybody. It seems like this is more of a civil dispute than a criminal one, but we're still here to make sure things don't escalate." She turned her attention back to the two women, who had momentarily stopped arguing, though the tension between them remained thick in the air. "We're going to need both of you to take a deep breath and explain your sides of the story, calmly and without interrupting each other," she said firmly. For a moment, there was silence as both women looked at each other, the weight of the situation settling in. Then, the first woman spoke, her voice tight with frustration. "I don't understand why she's doing this. We had an agreement, a deal, and she's backed out of it. She's the one who's refusing to hold up her end of the bargain." The second woman, her expression cool and composed, responded, "That's not true. The agreement was never as clear-cut as you're making it seem. I've been more than reasonable, but you refuse to see things from my perspective. This isn't just about the deal. It's about how we've been treated, how I've been treated." The officer listened quietly, nodding along, and then addressed the group. "All right, we'll need to take this to the proper authorities and have a formal review of the situation. But for now, we ask that you both remain calm and let the legal system handle it from here." As the officers continued to speak with the two women, the man looked on, his mind racing. He had never imagined that a simple disagreement over a business deal would turn into something so heated, so personal. The streets around them seemed eerily quiet, as if the entire neighborhood was holding its breath, waiting for the outcome of this strange and intense confrontation. In the end, it was clear that the resolution wouldn't come easily. The two women had too much at stake, their pride and egos as involved as their legal positions, and the man, caught in the middle, knew he would have to navigate the fallout from this moment for a long time to come. As the officers took their statements and the situation began to de-escalate, the police car stood like a silent witness, a symbol of order in the midst of chaos. The autumn wind blew softly, scattering the leaves, and for a moment, the street seemed to return to its peaceful state. But everyone involved knew that this was only the beginning of a much larger battle.